my colleague in the Union Government, Shri Pratap Sarangi ji, the President of CAPEXIL, Shri R. Veeramani ji, Chairman Western Region, Shri M. F. Vora ji, my former colleague in Parliament, Shri Hari Narayan Rajpur ji, my colleague in the Ministry of Commerce, Shri Shamal Mishra ji, all the distinguished awardees today, ladies and gentlemen. I was just now trying to assess what CAPEXIL stands for, which are the sectors that CAPEXIL works in, what is the export that you are doing, what is the potential that is possible. And I must say, it's truly heartwarming to see that you have a 4,500 member body with over 97% of the members who are MSME sector participants, the micro, small and medium sector companies. And your growth in terms of exports has been pretty phenomenal in the last 4 or 5 years. I'd like to compliment all of you in the industry, particularly the MSME sector, for the wonderful contribution you have done to help Indian exports grow, to help Indian exports fund development priorities, and to help India create jobs in different sectors, be it the ceramic sector, be it the rubber products, the auto tires and tubes, bulk minerals, graphites, explosives. These are all core sectors where I believe India has much more potential that we can tap. And we've probably just reached the tip of the iceberg. And my whole purpose of coming here today, apart from felicitating the top award winners, I believe you have a list of 300 award winners today, but I may not be able to stay for the whole duration. My colleagues will be here. But the important point is that let us not look at this award function only as just one more function. Let us leverage this occasion, and I've asked my colleague Mr. Mishra to sit with some of the leaders of your association and understand what are the challenges, what are the hurdles, what are the constraints that is holding some of you back. Because my own sense is that $22 billion of export that you are doing has huge potential to grow. I mean, I don't see any reason why our ceramics and allied industry should be $1.7 billion. That's an area where we have natural advantages in the country, and we should be able to look at much larger amounts of output coming out of that sector. Auto tires and tubes, we actually can be a world leader. We have such good capabilities in our country, but we yet do under $2 billion of exports in auto tires and tubes. And likewise, the story of each of these sectors is a story of huge potential, possibly lost opportunities. And I wouldn't necessarily blame you for it or blame one or the other person or sector or the government for it. I think it'll have to be a combined effort. And I can assure you that this is a listening government. This is a government that wants to listen to you. And this is a government that acts on what you demand from the government. And therefore, without any hesitation, I was jokingly telling Mr. Vora just now, even God gives only to those who ask. And in that sense, it's important that I take it only as an analogy for today's function, otherwise this will also be blown out of proportion like my slip of the tongue a few days ago. But please be open, please be willing to demand what the government can do, what we can do, to support your growing efforts, your efforts to do better and better in the days and years to come. And an award function is actually a day where you not only recognize good performance, it's a great encouragement for those who are the award winners, but it should also be an eye-opener for those who are not receiving an award today. It should also encourage and spur a greater degree of competition amongst those who possibly did not get this award, but should aspire to be in the award winner category next year. And it is that competitive spirit which will ultimately help all of us benefit, all of us grow. So while I compliment all the award winners for their success, we acknowledge what work they've been doing. I hope they are motivated by the award that they are receiving today. But I also hope it will inspire all of you to take up new challenges, new targets, and aim for extraordinary results. Ordinary results, anybody can do. And if you all are all entrepreneurs, if you are all senior executives, if you are all leaders of the industry, bear in mind, you are a leader because you did some extraordinary work. You are a leader because you could take some bold decisions. You are a leader because you are entrepreneurial. You are willing to take some risks. And I remember my late father used to often say that if everything has to go entirely as per a certain plan and you just say you'd grow by 5%, 7%, 10% and we are happy with that, then really we don't need leaders. It can be done by all the routine executives in companies or the staff of companies. A normal 5, 7%, 10% growth in our sector for exports would probably happen naturally. But a sector like CAPEXIL represents, to my mind, should now be looking at engaging with new technology, should now be looking at newer markets, and as we expand our FTA footprint, look where else we can provide our products. We should look at what value add we can do to our products rather than sending out raw materials or just very intermediate or basic products. What are the world's best quality standards? Can those standards become a part of the Indian lexicon? Can we all start looking at where the world will be 10 years from now and preparing our sector to engage with that world of 2030 rather than just remain rooted in our comfort zone that we are working in? And I think these are the thoughts that each one of us will have to reflect on. Each one of us will have to think about as we go back to our cities, as we go back to our businesses, and see how the chemical sector, and you are one of the oldest industry in India, how this industry can become truly the holder of a great promising future for the country, for the country's exports. And rather than draw satisfaction that we contribute 7% to India's total merchandise export, or that we have 10% of the global chemical export market, can we look at expanding our footprint to reach truly every market and see if we can become the #1 exporter in the world? And nothing less than #1 should satisfy our sector. And the day we decide to take on that challenge, that's the day you'll be able to come to Mr. Mishra, come to me, and say, we also want this, we also want this. Some suggestions came from Mr. Vora, from Mr. Veeramani as we were chatting during the course of the program. Mr. Veeramani made a very good suggestion that there must be some process by which an export-oriented unit or an export unit in the manufacturing side cannot be stopped until the order is of the highest level or of a very senior level. But for every flimsy excuse, you cannot stop a unit from production. I thought it was a very good suggestion. And I'm going to take it up with our Board of Trade in the next meeting, where we sit with all the states and draw up a common philosophy around which our international trade and our domestic support to international trade rests. A very good suggestion came from Mr. Vora. He said those units which are in the manufacturing sector with over maybe 50% exports, can we look at that as a separate category which is given a separate dispensation? I thought that was a very good idea because end of the day they are value adding in our country. They are creating jobs. And in that sense, I would urge each one of you to think about what you think could be ways and means by which together we can make a difference to our export basket, add value to that basket, make the basket bigger, make the basket stronger, and then engage with the world on equal terms, engage with the world with confidence. And half the battle truly is won with your self-confidence, with your ability to think big. After all, one of the reasons for the success story in some of our neighboring countries, particularly Southeast Asia, has been their ability to be bold, to think big, to leverage on economies of scale, to be nimble-footed. And there are challenges which I think our responsibility rests to ensure, for example, is the availability of funds. For example, ensuring that you have seamless flow of goods, or your ability to expand businesses for which you may need some marketing assistance as you go abroad, particularly the MSME sector. And in all of these scores, if you have difficulties, please demand our support. And I'm using the word demand with full consciousness. I want you to demand support from the government so that we also take this as our challenge, as our responsibility. And in some sense, we've been working to try and boost some of these measures to help Indian industry. Very recently, day before yesterday, I followed up on the Honorable Finance Minister's very, very generous support to the exporting community through a series of announcements by announcing a few measures, some of which were the reduction in fees for all innovation, patents and all of those registrations that you do in the patents or the new designs or expediting the giving of patents, all of those processes. We have reduced fees between 60 to 68% for MSMEs and startups. And that has probably either already been notified or will be notified in a day or two. We've expanded our patent offices to almost triple or quadruple the strength that they had, so that we can look at faster disposal of cases through patents, copyrights, trademarks, design approvals, GI approvals, all of that. For credit, we launched the Nirvik scheme day before yesterday. We are all aware that ECGC always had some challenges in terms of claim settlement, in terms of bankers' confidence that they will get a claim paid up, because of which we were not getting the benefits of that ECGC cover that I thought we should get. I've myself been an exporter, and I've suffered many of the problems that you suffer today. So hence, I'm trying to remember all those issues which had bothered me. So I still remember an ECGC claim for which I struggled for some 12, 14, 18 months. Finally realized the cost of my time and my staff's time was worth more than the claim that I was hoping to get from ECGC, and I gave it up. But I don't want any of you to ever face that situation again. So we gave the policy of ECGC to the bankers. We said on a track change mode, you do what changes you require to make it a bankable policy, to make it a policy that bankers can trust, will give them a refund or will give them a reimbursement of any loss that they may face on their export credit. So for those of you who understand finance, it became a credit enhancement tool. And MSME sector particularly, everybody can use it, big or small. But MSME sector particularly has a challenge today in banking, where they demand credit rating, and we are unable to get good credit rating, because of which either our interest cost is high or the very availability of funds is a challenge. With this Nirvik policy, for which I'm going to go to the cabinet to reduce even the premium from the existing level of 0.72%. We're trying to see if we can reduce that premium a little bit. But the idea is that under this policy, which is now a policy crafted by the bankers themselves, they have promised to look at this policy as a credit enhancement, and anybody who covers their exports under this Nirvik scheme their loan, the loan that the bank gives to them, will be considered a double A rated loan. And because it will be a double A rated loan, and with 90% reimbursement of principal and interest in the event of any default, in the event of any of your buyers defaulting or the company getting into trouble, 90% of the loan, principal and interest will be paid by ECGC, against which bankers have agreed to treat it as a double A rated loan, and therefore you will get easier availability of funds. Bankers will feel more comfortable in giving exporters covered under NIRVIC scheme more loans, more limits. They will not insist on large collateral securities. They will not say keep fixed deposit of 50%, give me your house in collateral, at least for those limits which you cover under the NIRVIC scheme. So collateral requirements will significantly reduce. In very good accounts, it may even get eliminated. That's between you and the bankers. But if they don't reduce, then you need to raise your voice and tell us about it so that we can act with the bankers. If they don't give you easy availability of fund, considering double A rating, you have to raise your voice and come and fight with Shamal Mishra or with me. If they still don't charge you under 8% rate of interest, what we have agreed with them is repo rate plus maximum of 220 basis points. With a double A rating, their capital requirement falls, their risk reduces. Therefore, the spread they have agreed to reduce to 220 basis points. Repo is 5.4. You can get the funds at 7.6% in Indian rupees. If they don't do that, come and complain. If they ask you 9%, 10%, 8%, come and complain. And for those of you who are better customers, whose accounts are better, who have better collateral, and if your rating increases from AA to maybe AAA or whatever, you will get it even less than 7.6%. Along with that, you have the advantage that bankers will get their money refunded faster. 50% of their loss, if any, will be paid within 30 days of their lodging the claim. Balance, all claims up to 10 crores, there will be no inspection. We'll go by the records, so that it will be one harassment less. So we are working holistically to see how we can make available finance to all of you easier. And for those of you who are willing to take dollar-based finance or foreign currency loans, the deal is even sweeter than that. State Bank is assured to make available to all other banks, many of whom don't have enough foreign exchange. State Bank has enough exchange. Reserve Bank of India is also supporting this effort. They will make sure that any bank who gives foreign exchange loan to exporters will get a back-to-back loan at LIBOR plus 50 basis points. LIBOR is about 2% now, so they will get at 2.5%. And they will charge you LIBOR plus 150 basis points, another 100 basis points as their spread. So effectively, if you look at today's rate, you will get it at about 3.5% or approximately thereabouts in foreign currency. Now tell me, is that a good deal or no? And if you ask for foreign currency loan, no bank can say no to you. If anybody refuses to give you a foreign currency loan, again, come and complain, tell us. We'll pull up that banker. But as I said, the dialogue has to be there, and you have to be more forthcoming. Now let me tell you, I was telling them, why is the award being given for, I think, 15-16 just now? 15-16 and 16-17. You all keep complaining about government. Hindi mein kehte hain na, apne girowan mein dekhiye, look inside. You're giving an award 2 years late. In one case, 3 years late. It's now September. By now you should have been giving 18-19 awards. Data is all online, it's available. And I would urge you that before the end of calendar 2019, you complete the process for the next 2 years also. And come online, come up to date. Because otherwise you lose the right to demand. भाई आपकी भी एसोसिएशन ऐसे ही चलती है, प्राइवेट सेक्टर भी ऐसे ही चलता है, सरकार को क्यों गाली देते हो? Similarly, and it's not that I'm looking for a large audience or anything like that. I have no problem, I can address even 10 people. And in politics, we go and address audiences which may at times be even 5 people. There's no problem. In politicians, we are very used to everything. But what is the seriousness of your association in terms of opportunities where you can raise your voice, where you can engage with the leadership, with the political leadership, with government, is reflected on the poor attendance today. I don't see any industry leaders of your sector over here today. Next time any of them are going to ask me for an appointment, they won't get an appointment. I already have been asking who are the people, which are the companies which are engaged in your industry. ये कोई बड़े लोगों को ये सहूलियत नहीं है कि भाई हमको तो ये सब कैपेक्सिल ये वो में एंगेज होने की जरूरत नहीं है, हम तो मंत्री को डायरेक्ट मिलेंगे. सॉरी, अगर आप पूरी इंडस्ट्री के साथ नहीं खड़े हो तो हम भी आपके साथ नहीं खड़े. और ये आप अपने सब बड़े यूनिट्स 97% छोड़ के जो 3% रह गए उनको ये जरा कन्वे कर देना और हो सके तो उसकी एक लिस्ट मेरे ऑफिस में भेज देना. I'm sorry, I hope I'm not sounding very rude. पर आखिर इन सब में भी तो समय निकाला है. चलो ये अवार्ड विनर्स भी मैं मानूं तो बाकी भी बहुत लोग आए हैं. और अगर सिर्फ अवार्ड विनर्स आने वाले हैं तो अगली बार फिर हमें मत बुलाइए, अवार्ड्स आप ही बांट दीजिए आपस में. But truly, I think this is a time now we'll all have to start looking how we can make exponential change in our businesses. And I'm particularly appealing to the MSME sector because that is where the future of India lies. That let us see what we need to do. Just now Mr. Veermani was with pride showing me that his granite has gone into make buildings 100-story or 70-story buildings in all over the world, some 50 or 90 countries, he was telling me. He was showing me the famous singers, the famous actor and the karate kung fu fellow Bruce Lee's tomb is made out of his granite. My heart swells with pride when I see that. And that's how we should all look at what we can do. That we are recognized all over the world. It's a made in India product. It's a quality product. The made in India stamp should get value. And that's what we should all be working towards, engage with each other towards. Come up with proposals if you want to set up clusters. If you want to set up clusters near the port. If you want land in bulk so that many of your units can come collectively to set up industry. If you want common effluent treatment plant because environment is an area of concern for all of you. If you want common testing facilities, let's work together to see what we can do. I had my factory in Thana Belapur industrial area, which is largely comprising a lot of chemical units also. We had a common effluent treatment plant there for now last 30 years. And it makes more profit than we used to make in that area. So caring for the environment, as my colleague Mr. Sarangi was just saying, is not an economically bad proposition. It's a very advantageous proposition for all of us if we care for the environment, particularly in the chemical and these sectors where your machinery corrodes very quickly. And it could be corroding because your neighbor is throwing out maybe sulfur dioxide gases or something. But if all of us collectively take the responsibility of caring for the environment, we can do tremendous improvement both in the environment and in the business climate and in the acceptability of India and our products worldwide. I do hope all of us will work together towards a better future for our industry. One last thing that I would like to mention, let us not be scared of engaging with the world. Let us see where we can grasp opportunities in the world. Very often a narrative is sought to be spread that an FTA is, for example, bad for the country, or opening up is bad for the country. I don't think if we look back 30 years ago, the country was any better off 30 years ago than what we are today. Several times the narrative is sought to be misrepresented. So I myself was the victim of some misrepresentations. When I was shown the statistics and I said, yeah, that's right. A particular policy has caused a lot of damage to India. But when you go into the detail, very often you find the damage is not to India. It has in fact helped the Indian industry flourish, maybe not in one sector, another sector. But the sector which is feeling hurt has lost an opportunity to benefit from what was agreed. And we see that, for example, when I study the ASEAN FTA, India has used only 5% of the lines which opened up under ASEAN FTA. And 40% plus has been the utilization on the other side. And therefore, Honorable Finance Minister has announced a monitoring cell in our ministry which will be looking at where we've lost opportunities to exploit the FTAs that India has done in the past, which we may consider doing in the future. But we are working with the industry together to ensure that we protect the national interests and industry and business interests in India. But at the same time, we have to protect the interests of our consumers also. They cannot be left high and dry. You are in another sense a consumer also. In one place you may be a manufacturer, in another place you are a buyer. So I think we'll have to work holistically as a team and seriously look at how trade remedies can be better used wherever we feel that domestic interests are hurt. And I would urge all of you to study domestic available trade remedies. I've had a special session where I had invited over 100 association leaders. I had requested them to take it to all their members. There are a variety of trade remedies available. Earlier there was a little laxity in implementing them. We are speeding up the process of using trade remedies. I find there are a lot of trade barriers, non-tariff barriers, which are used by other countries. If any of you are a victim of non-tariff barriers, please convey to us. We will talk and engage with those governments to remove them. If they don't, we can do retaliatory non-tariff barriers on them. So India will work with the rest of the world now with confidence, in a spirit of reciprocity, and with a spirit of engagement also. Not sitting in our cocoon and refusing to engage with the rest of the world. So I'd like to appeal to all of you, let's take up this challenge. Let's grab the opportunity. Let's work together, because when we come together, be it government, be it industry, be it exporters, be it facilitators, the logistics, the port authorities, when all of us come together, support each other, work in a spirit of partnership, work with a spirit of understanding each other, work in a spirit of finding solutions. I mean, all of us can choose to be crybabies, but that's not going to get us far. But if we are going to work together to look at solutions, then I have no doubt in my mind, the future is extremely bright. I have $1 trillion export target that I have set out to achieve. Those sectors that come forward quickly and those sectors which act proactively will certainly benefit from them. I can't force you, but I can certainly encourage you to take the full benefit of a government that wants to work together in partnership with all of you. Let's take this journey together. Let's work in that spirit so that the next generation recognizes the contribution of each one of today's award winners and other stakeholders of CAPEXIL and remembers that 2019 to 24 was a golden period in the era of India's international trade and engagement. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing with us your wisdom and guidance. And very rightly said that let us leverage this occasion and understand the hurdles and the challenges and how we can grow even more and aim for extraordinary results. For any organization, rewarding its members is incredibly important. The award ceremonies are a celebration of success and achievement. It celebrates hard work, perseverance, consistency, and whatnot. And there is so much to thank everybody here for. The members, without whom there is no organization, and without your contribution, there is no CAPEXIL. So now we move on to the best part of today's function. We begin with the award function now, and onto the first category, we have the highest export award from the minerals and ore sector, the canalized agency. Ji. And we have MMTC Limited. I request Mr. Ved Prakash, Chief Managing Director, and Mr. Ashwani Sondhi to please come on stage. I'd also like to request VV Minerals, Mr. Subramaniam, Managing Partner, to please come on stage.